Go to your basement right now, or your closet, or your garage. Put your hand flat against the wall. Feel that? That cold, slightly slick surface? That faint pool of moisture against your palm? That is not a building problem. That is not a foundation problem. That is not something you fix with a contractor or a repairman or a $300 machine plugged into your wall. That is just water in the air. And there is a single white crystal, one you can buy for about $5, that will pull every drop of it out of that room, silently, without a single watt of electricity, without a single moving part, without ever wearing out. One crystal, $5, permanent. And I promise you, by the end of what I am about to show you, you will never look at the humidity in your home the same way again. Stay with me. Here is the thing about damp that nobody tells you. It does not announce itself. It does not knock a wall down or flood a floor. It works quietly, the way rust works, the way rot works. Slow and invisible until the day it is not. Right now, in closed rooms all across this country, mold is growing on walls behind furniture. Leather is rotting in closets. Metal tools are rusting in sheds. Gun barrels are pitting in safes. Cardboard boxes in attics are softening. Books are going brown at the edges. And the people who own those things have no idea it is happening. Because damp does its best work in the dark, in the silence, in the spaces you are not looking at. The number the researchers use is 60. Once the moisture in a closed space climbs past 60 parts in 100, what they call 60% relative humidity, mold can take root on a surface in less than 48 hours. Not weeks, not months. 48 hours. Now here's the question I want you to sit with. If the fix to all of that is $5, one afternoon, and a thing you already have in your kitchen, why has nobody shown you this? I am going to answer that, but not yet. First, let me tell you who I am and why you should trust what I am about to say. My name is Elijah Yoder. I am Amish, and I farm in Holmes County, Ohio. I want to be straight with you right up front, the way I always am. Because straight talk is the only kind worth giving. This is not an old Amish recipe. My grandfather never heard of the crystal I am going to show you today. He managed damp the way plain people have for centuries, with lime-washed cellar walls, with cross ventilation, with the careful placement of a root cellar door on a dry summer morning. Those things work, and I will tell you about them another time. This crystal came out of a chemist's workshop, not a farmhouse. I will not pretend otherwise. You can always spot a lie, and I will not insult you with one. But this crystal follows the oldest rule my grandfather ever spoke out loud. He said it once when I was 7 years old, sitting on the fence watching him repair a broken wheel rather than replace it. He said, "Never let yourself be sold the same thing twice that you could have used once and kept forever." That is the rule. And what I am about to show you lives by it completely. I have used this in our root cellar, in the tobacco barn, in the tool shed, in every enclosed space on this farm that the damp tries to claim. I know how it works. I know where it works. I know where it does not. And I am going to tell you all three, because the honest limits of a thing are just as important as the thing itself. Here is exactly what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you the one crystal that does this job, what it is, what it costs, where to buy it, and why it works the way it does. Then I'm going to show you how to build the simplest dehumidifier you have ever seen in about 4 minutes with things you already own. Then I'm going to show you the one step that turns a $5 investment into something that lasts you a year or more. A step the company selling you the store tub has no financial interest in ever telling you about. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I am going to answer the question I left open a moment ago. If this is so simple, if this costs $5, why has nobody put it on a label? Why has nobody run a commercial showing you this? The answer is going to make you uncomfortable. I say that not to be dramatic. I say it because it is true. And because once you hear it, you will start to see the same pattern in a dozen other things you buy. Total cost today, $5. Once. Let's go. Before I show you the crystal, I need to tell you one thing about the industry built around damp. About the small white tubs you see on the shelf at every hardware store. The damp rid tubs, the EvaDry tubs, The $12, $15, $18 tubs that millions of people buy every single month. Those tubs work. I am not going to tell you they do not. The crystal inside them works just fine. But here is what the company that makes them has known since the very first day they put those tubs on the shelf. The crystal does not wear out. It cannot wear out. When it turns to liquid, when the tub of crystals melts down to a puddle at the bottom, that is not the crystal dying. That is the crystal succeeding. That is the crystal full. And everything it took from your air, you can bake the water right back out of it. And the same crystal comes back dry and ready to start all over again. The company has known this since day one. It is basic chemistry. It is not a secret. It is just not on the label. Stay with me, because there is a reason for that, and you deserve to know what it is. Let me tell you something about humidity that most people have completely backwards. And I want you to understand this before I show you anything else. Because if you get this wrong, you will use the right tool in the wrong way and wonder why it did not work. Most people think about damp as something that comes in, a leak, a flood, a wet day, something that enters. That is true for catastrophic water. But the damp that ruins your stored things, the damp that grows the mold behind the dresser and rusts the tools and rots the leather, that damp is already in the air. It was in the air when you closed the door. Every cubic foot of air in every room in your home is carrying water vapor right now. Not liquid water. Water is gas, invisible, weightless, already there. And here is the part that changes everything. When you seal a space, when you close the basement door, lock up the camper, shut the gun safe, lock the cabin for the winter, you trap that air. And trapped air in a cool, enclosed space will slowly give up its water to every surface it touches. To the walls, to the leather, to the metal, to the wood, to the fabric. The enemy is not the water coming in. The enemy is the water already there that has nowhere to go. And that changes what you need entirely. You do not need a barrier. You do not need a seal or a coating or a waterproof anything. You need something that will pull the water out of the air before the air has a chance to put it somewhere you do not want it. That is exactly what this crystal does. It does not block water. It drinks it right out of the air, silently, continuously, without power, without moving parts, without a single thing to break or replace. One crystal, $5, and the understanding that you are not fighting water coming in. You are pulling water already there back out. That is the whole game. Now let me show you how to play it. You need 3 things. That is all. Thing 1, calcium chloride pellets. That is the crystal. You can find it at any pool supply store, any hardware store, any farm supply store. Buy the 40-pound bag and the price will come to about $4 or $5. It is the same compound they use to melt ice on winter roads. The same compound the food industry uses to firm up pickles and cheese. Get the pellet or the flake form, not the fine powder. The pellets drain better and work longer. Keep the bag sealed when you are not using it, because it will start pulling moisture from the air the moment you open it. That is not a warning. That is just proof it works. Thing 2, a bucket. Any bucket. 5-gallon, 3-gallon, it does not matter much. You almost certainly already own one. Thing 3, a plastic colander or strainer, the kind used for draining pasta. It needs to sit over the top of the bucket so the rim of the colander rests on the rim of the bucket. The crystals go in the colander. As they melt, the liquid drips down through the holes into the bucket below. That separation is the whole trick. If the crystals sit in their own liquid, they stop working. Keep them above the water, and they keep drinking. That is the build. Bucket, colander, crystal. Pour 2 to 3 inches of pellets into the colander. Set it on the bucket. Carry it to the dampest corner of whatever space you are treating. Set it on a board or an old plate so the brine that may drip does not touch a concrete floor or a metal shelf. And now, simply walk away and let the crystals do their work. Total build time, 4 minutes. Total cost, $5 for the bag. $0 for the bucket and strainer you already own. Now here is what I promised you at the start. The one step that turns this $5 bag into something you use again and again, month after month, year after year, instead of throwing it in the trash every few weeks. When the colander is empty, when every crystal is melted down into the bucket, that bucket of liquid is not waste. That is your calcium chloride. It is just full of water. All the water it pulled from the air of that room, now sitting quietly in a bucket. Nothing lost, nothing spent, nothing used up. Here's what you do. Pour the liquid carefully into a glass baking dish. Glass, not metal. The brine is salty and will pit and stain a metal pan. Set your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is right around 200 degrees Celsius. Slide the dish in, open a window or turn the kitchen vent on, and leave it for 2 to 3 hours. What is happening inside that oven is simple. The water is boiling off as steam. It is going out through your vent, out the window, and back into the atmosphere where it belongs, not into the room you just dried. What is staying behind in the dish is the calcium chloride, dry and white, exactly as it started. Make sure to let it cool fully before moving on to the next step. Knock the dry crystals into a glass jar with a tight-fitting lid. A mason jar works perfectly. Seal it immediately, because the moment you leave dry calcium chloride in open air, it will start pulling moisture again, which means you lose some of your crystal before you even get it back to work. One $5 bag, baked and reused. In a typical household climate, you will get 8, 10, 12 regeneration cycles out of one bag before you notice any real drop in performance. That is a year or more of humidity control, often longer, from a single $5 purchase. That is the trick. That is what the label does not say. This crystal is not a dehumidifier, not the kind with a compressor and a fan and a drain hose. A power dehumidifier can pull 10, 20, even 50 pints of water out of a basement in a single day. That machine is the right tool if your basement gets water through the foundation, if you have had a flood, if you are fighting serious moisture coming in from the outside. For that job, buy the machine. Do not argue with a flood using a bucket and a colander. What calcium chloride does is different. It works on the ambient moisture in a sealed space, the everyday damp that accumulates in a closed closet, the winter moisture in a stored boat or camper, the slow creep of humidity in a gun safe, the basement room that is dry enough but always smells of earth, the cabin you close up in October, the pantry that always smells a little stale, the storage unit, the tackle box, the attic corner where the leather trunk has been sitting for 20 years. It works on still air, enclosed spaces, small to medium rooms with the door kept shut. The more sealed the space, the better it works. An open room with windows going in and out all day, the crystal cannot keep up. But close the door and it works steadily, quietly, around the clock for weeks without you touching it. The coverage is also limited. One bucket treats the air within roughly 3 to 5 feet of it. For a small closet, one bucket in a corner is enough. For a 12-foot basement room, set 2 or 3 of them along the walls. Do not expect one bucket to dry a warehouse. That is what it will do and what it will not. The truth is more useful than the sales pitch. Let me say a true word about safety, because I will not skip this. Calcium chloride is not a dangerous substance. It is in your food, on your roads, in your drinking water treatment. But the brine, the liquid that collects in the bucket, is another matter. Concentrated salt water is caustic to skin and eyes, especially for long contact. Keep the bucket where children cannot reach it. Keep it away from pets. If you get brine on your skin, wash it. If you get it in your eyes, flush them with water immediately. The dry crystals are eye and skin irritants too, for the same reason. Pour them with care. Do not handle them and then touch your face. Set the bucket on glass or wood, not directly on metal. The brine will corrode metal surfaces over time. Brackets, shelving posts, tools. I keep mine on a flat piece of scrap cedar in the corner of the root cellar. 3 years and not a mark on the floor. None of this is frightening. It is just the kind of honest caution you owe a useful tool. Treat it with a little respect, and it will serve you without incident. Once you have one bucket working, you will want more. Here's how to think about a whole home moisture system that costs almost nothing to run. The root cellar gets one, always. That is where the cold, still air is most likely to carry moisture and hold it. The detached garage gets one near the workbench where the tools are. Metal and damp are a slow, expensive war. One bucket near your tools ends it. If you have a boat stored for winter, put a sealed 5-gallon bucket with a small colander inside the cabin of the boat. Close the cabin. When you open it in spring, you will not smell the mildew that used to greet you. The gun safe. This one matters a great deal. The humidity inside a sealed gun safe will destroy a firearm over a winter, slowly but surely. Calcium chloride in the small container inside the safe is the simplest, cheapest solution there is. No silica packs, no electric rod, just a small jar of crystals with a loose lid sitting on the bottom shelf. Check it every month. The closet where your leather jackets and boots live. One small bucket tucked in the back corner. The leather will thank you. The attic, if it is sealed tight. One bucket near the center. The camper, or RV, in winter storage. 2 buckets, one at each end. The storage unit where your grandmother's furniture lives. Every one of these uses the same $5 bag, the same bucket you already own, the same oven cycle when it is time to refresh. You scale up without spending more than a few dollars extra in crystals, and the whole system regenerates itself. My grandfather managed moisture in a sealed space the old plain way. And I want to tell you about it because it fits alongside this crystal like a hand in a glove. Cellar walls in a traditional Amish farmhouse were washed with lime. Not painted with it, washed with it. A thin coat of pure calcium hydroxide mixed to the consistency of milk, brushed on with a wide whitewash brush. My grandmother called it putting the cellar to bed for summer. She did it every spring, on a dry day when the wind was moving. What lime does to a wall is what calcium chloride does to air. It absorbs. A freshly limed wall will pull moisture out of the air around it and hold it in the wall itself, where it cannot feed mold or rot leather or rust iron. When dry weather comes, the wall releases it slowly back out. We have not limed the root cellar walls in about 3 years now, because I started using the calcium chloride buckets, and the two together make the root cellar the driest storage space on the property. In August, at the height of a humid Ohio summer, the root cellar sits at about 50% humidity, while the air outside is pushing 90. The old way and the new way, working together. $5 in a morning's work. My grandfather would have approved of the crystal, I think. Not because it is old, but because it is honest in what it does. And because you only have to buy it once. Now I want to take a moment, because this is the part that matters, and it is bigger than the crystal. Walk down any hardware store aisle and count those branded tubs of moisture absorber. $12, $15, $18. Bright packaging, clean labels, a brand name you recognize. Millions of people buying them every month, throwing them in the trash every few weeks, going back to buy another, year after year. The compound inside those tubs costs $4 for a 40-pound bag. Not approximately $4. Not about $4. $4. At the same stores where they sell the branded tubs for $15. The same crystals, the same chemistry, marked up 3, 4, 5 times. Packaged for disposal. Sold as a thing to throw away. And the one step that makes the crystal reusable. The glass dish, the oven, the 400 degrees, the 2 hours, the window open. That step is nowhere on the label. Not in small print, not in a pamphlet inside the box, nowhere. Ask yourself why. Not with suspicion, not with anger, just with honesty. Ask yourself, who profits from you not knowing that? A thing you buy once and reuse forever is a terrible business. A thing you must throw away and repurchase forever is a perfect one. The information was not suppressed. It was not hidden in a vault somewhere. It is just that a company built on repeat purchases has no reason to include the words "bake it" and "reuse it" on the label of a product designed to be thrown away. No reason at all, so nobody tells you. And a whole country keeps buying the same bag of salt 15 times when they could have bought it once. This is not a conspiracy. Nobody is scheming. It is just what happens when the people with the information are also the people who profit from your not having it. The knowledge gets left out. Not banned, not forbidden, just left out of the conversation, quietly, year after year, while the tubs sell and the profit accumulates. My people have always tried to live the opposite of that. A tool you bought once should last. A thing that can be repaired, you repair. A thing that can be restored, you restore. The word for what we are describing is stewardship. And it has nothing to do with being old-fashioned, and everything to do with refusing to be sold the same thing twice. $5, one bag, baked back to life again and again. That is not frugal. That is just honest. So here's what I want you to do this weekend. Saturday morning, go to the pool supply store or the hardware store and ask for calcium chloride pellets, the 40-pound bag. Tell them you are using it for moisture control, not for roads. They will know exactly what you need. It will cost you $4 or $5. Buy one bag. Come home. Find a 5-gallon bucket. Find a plastic colander that fits across the top of it. Pour 2 to 3 inches of pellets into the colander. Set the colander on the bucket. Place the whole thing on a piece of scrap wood or an old glass dish to protect the surface below from any drips. Put it in the dampest spot in your home. The corner of the basement, the back of the closet, the gun safe, the boat, the camper, wherever the damp has been winning. Close the door and walk away. Come back in 2 to 3 weeks. Look at the bucket. See the liquid. That is the water that used to be in the air of that room, now harmless in a bucket. When the colander is empty, pour the liquid into a glass baking dish. Open a window. Set the oven to 400 degrees. Put the dish in for 2 to 3 hours. Come back to dry white crystals. Let them cool. Seal them in a mason jar. Start the whole cycle again. $5. One bag, one afternoon. A system that keeps working on its own, as long as you remember to bake it back every few weeks. That is the whole thing. No contractor, no electrician, no monthly service, no replacement tubs. Just you, a bucket, and a bag of crystals you bought once and kept forever. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what is the dampest spot in your home? The one you have been throwing store-bought tubs at for years? The basement that always smells of earth? The closet where the leather always goes soft? The gun safe you worry about every winter? The boat you open in April and wish you had not? Tell me where you are in the country too, because climate matters here. A humid summer in Georgia is a different animal than a dry winter in Colorado. And the more I know about where you are using this, the more I can tell you about how it will perform for you. I read every one of these, every single one. And the answers you all share in those comments teach every new person who finds this video something I could not have told them myself. Next time, since we have been talking about moisture and closed spaces, I am going to show you the older way, how the Plain families in this county built root cellars and pantries that stayed dry for 100 years without a single crystal or a single machine. Lime-washed walls, cross-draft placement, the direction of the door, the depth of the shelf. One small habit my grandmother did every July morning that most people would think had nothing to do with dampness at all. The old ways and the new crystal, used together, are more powerful than either one alone. And the old ways cost nothing but understanding. Stay with me for that one. You will want to know it. Until then, buy the bag once, bake it back when it is full. And remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.